Okay, so good morning for everybody who's joining via recording. We've got a handful of wonderful participants here who are writing in some of their reflections on verses, specifically verses 9 through 11. So the verses that we've been working on since our last reflection. And yeah, I'm just reading these comments, and basically I'm going to have a little conversation through the commentary that's coming in from my friends here about these verses. So verse 9, this verse talks about, fill your bowl to the brim, it will spill, keep sharpening your knife, it will blunt, right? It's talking about what happens when we get kind of stuck in doing or accumulating mode, when we overvalue it's like overvaluing yang and not honoring yin. If we always want everything to be full, then we don't get emptiness, which is actually really important and valuable. If we're working all the time, we actually dull our instruments eventually rather than sharpen them, right? Making us less bright, efficient, intelligent, right? And then this last line, which John Samuel had a question about, do your work, then step back, the only path to serenity. And he asks, is that like the Sabbath, a day of rest? And John Samuel comes from a Jewish tradition. So it's a great question. And Betsy responded, she saw that to mean immerse yourself in the act of doing and then detach and don't worry about how it's received, etc. And I say both of those interpretations are great, right? I say both of them are great. That, because this verse is about the balance of work and rest, absolutely. I believe that a religious tradition like a Sabbath day is that. It's an important reminder for us about that concept of balance. And then what Betsy says is totally right. And that's actually a little bit closer to like a classical interpretation of this. It aligns actually with a famous concept from the Bhagavad Gita, and a famous line and verse from the Bhagavad Gita from the Hindu tradition, where Krishna, God, appears to Arjuna. He's a chariot driver, but then he reveals himself as actually he's God. And Arjuna is going into battle. Anyway, in that, there's this famous line about do your work, right? Like, do your work, and you have to do it as well as you possibly can, but then you can't be attached to the fruits of your action. It's like you can plant the seed in your garden and you can water and you can, try to put it in the right spot, but you actually don't get to control whether the seed grows, and that's life. And that line in particular, I've been repeating to myself. I had a friend visiting here and I was trying to do everything, give her this perfect trip. And sometimes she maybe wouldn't connect with a particular thing, or I'd take her somewhere that I loved and she'd be like, meh, right? Or I would organize some, anyway, you know what I mean? And if I got too stuck on sort of the fruits of the action, she didn't like it. I did all that work and she didn't like it. I'm not actually in control of what she likes, right? But I am in control of, I did a great job organizing the trip and I could feel really good about that. So do your work and then step back. Okay. A couple comments on verse 10. Verse 10. Judy loves this line. Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? I love that too. And Judy and I both have work that involves supporting other people and helping them, right? And Judy's a therapist, and I do this work and direct an education program, and I have to be in charge a lot. And how do you, I mean, also kind of just what I was saying about having my friend in town, right? I can't force people to enjoy something. I can't force you guys to to love the Dao De Jing. Maybe some of you are falling in love with it on your own, but all I can do is sort of love you guys and present what I love and invite you in. And, but we're never, again, there's this theme of control. We're never actually in control of others. And what does that do when we love people and lead them without imposing our will? It builds trust. It's also sending the signal to those that we work with or that are with us or that we're leading in that particular instance that we value their autonomy and their self-empowerment. Yeah, and that whole, all of this, I mean, somebody, I think it was Judy, said that whole of verse 10, it was so necessary. And I actually read this out loud to some friends and my aunt the other night. And everyone was like, yes, yes, yes. And, anytime that you find one of these that's like that, a wonderful focus practice and concentration and contemplation practice would be to memorize it or memorize the line that you want to kind of repeat to yourself. And then a few people seem to be really interested in and reflecting upon today's verse 11. Bill says, I like the thought of emptiness being where the important stuff happens. Connects well with the previous verses about getting out of the way. Yes. Pamela said, I love thinking that it's the emptiness that makes the vessel valuable. What they're referring to is this line, well, this whole thing, right? We join spokes together in a wheel, but it's the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it's the emptiness inside that holds what we want, right? We're using the inside of the house. I sometimes talk about what my teacher, Adi Ashanti, says about when we're trying to think about emptiness. If you had, imagine if right now you had so much furniture that you couldn't move around, right? I've got my yoga mat out. When I get off with you guys, I'm going to do some yoga. If my house was too full, I wouldn't be able to do my yoga practice. That empty space that we usually don't think about is absolutely invaluable. I like also that image of the wagon wheel spoke, because in the middle, of course, that spot doesn't move. Right at the very center of the wagon wheel, everything moves around it. And center is another theme for us here, right? A few days ago, we had hold on to the center. But that's that place of stillness and silence that everything moves around because it's there. Holly says, I'm thinking about what it means to be empty. And now I want to reflect on one question that came in that wasn't specific about the verses, but that John Samuel mentioned in his comment. So I'm going to respond to that. He asked about what we're doing when we are in the silent meditation. And he asked specifically, are we still doing the ABCs? And the ABCs, for anybody who's watching this or listening and is new to my teaching, is a meditation template that I created to help you self-guide your way through. If anyone is listening or watching and wants access to that and doesn't have it, let me know. I'll try to put it more prominently on this site so that people can use it. But anyway, it's just a simple, when you're sitting there in silence, what do? You just go through A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And anyway, that's a really, really good question, because usually I do more guidance and we're not doing quite so much silence. So basically do, as it says in the Dao De Jing, it's yours. You can use it however you want. Do whatever version of self-guided meditation you like. You also have the option, this will be more accessible as the meditations get longer, but I have hundreds of free guided meditations on the website. Maybe I'll try to make those a little more clear to find as well. But, you're welcome to listen to guidance. And as Betsy's about to say what I was about to say, actually, which is you can, and I'll just even read how she says it. Regarding meditation, I found myself repeating a line from each verse that stuck out like an echo almost. It's been so interesting to see what line seems to pop for me. So that's one way of doing it. I actually sometimes, allow my eyes to open and I reread the thing. And yeah, I'll kind of use it as a mantra because I'm so in love with this book and I've been studying and teaching it for a while. I have a lot of these already committed to memory, or at least chunks of them. And I'll just sort of repeat them to myself as a mantra, or I'll try to feel like today I was really kind of trying to be the emptiness, to feel how powerful that empty space inside is. So for me personally, my meditations while we've been doing this, because I'm here meditating with you. It's my dog out there wooing at something. But I have been allowing the verse we're working on to inform my meditation. But everybody's doing something a little different. And again, anybody who wants more guidance with that, reach out. Yeah. And then those people who've been meditating for a while, you've got your bag of resources and techniques. It's accessible, and doing something like this can actually be really helpful in solidifying what it is that really works for you in terms of self-guidance. So this has been so great. I love this. Thanks to everybody that put in a comment or two and allowing me to have this back and forth with you in conversation. It feels really dynamic and fun, for me at least, a little bit more than just sitting and blabbing at you about my interpretation. Oh, and I'll just say a comment came in that I think is really, really wise from John Samuel. He says, in the middle of the hurricane, there is no wind. So yeah, similar to that center of the spoke of the wheel that doesn't move. That's beautiful. If anyone has any final comments or questions, go ahead and bring them in. I'm going to wrap us up. I encourage you to just keep contemplating. This text, it doesn't stop giving. It's been around now for how long? Like almost 3 millennia or something like that. And the concepts and the ideas and teachings in it have been around way longer. And there's just so much here. So I'm really excited that you're already engaging in this way. And I just encourage you to keep doing it. Use it however you want, which means don't feel like you have to give the same amount of energy to every verse. If there's one line or verse that's popping out for you, carry that around for a while and keep letting me know about your reflections and your questions so that we can keep this dynamic conversation going. And by doing this, we're really keeping this ancient text alive and we're keeping these teachings active. It's a beautiful thing. Have a wonderful Wednesday. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thursdays and Sundays are our sessions that start a couple hours later. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you then.